In the meantime, the president blasting Roger Stone's 40-month prison sentence for witness tampering, obstruction, and lying to Congress, saying Stone is a good man who stands a good chance of exoneration.
They say he lied, but other people lied too. Just to mention, Comey lied, McCabe lied, Lisa Page lied, her lover, Peter Strzok, lied. You don't know who these people are? Just trust me, they all lied. I'd love to see Roger exonerated, and I'd love to see it happen, because I personally think he was treated very unfairly.
Joining me now is Trey Gowdy. He is, of course, former chair of the House Oversight Committee, now a Fox News contributor. Good evening, Congressman.
Hey, Ed, how are you?
I suspect the president may have something to say about Roger Stone and Peter Strzok and Andy McCabe, but I think what he's getting at big picture is his anger about the fact that he believes there's two tiers of justice in this country right now.
Yeah, I'd be angry about that, too. I mean, if you like small government, Ed, there's nothing smaller than a jury trial. And I was a prosecutor. I have a lot of respect for juries, assuming that the jurors were fair. He went to trial, and he lost. And this sentence is much more in line with what I thought was fair and what Bill Barr thought was fair than what those four prosecutors did. His frustration is that the origins of this, I mean, Peter Strzok is who started this investigation. I think that's his frustration. I don't think it's with the jury verdict.
Yeah, and so after all of the controversy, isn't it interesting that the federal judge ends up coming up with a sentence, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, that is closer to what Bill Barr was saying than what the prosecutors who stepped down wanted? They wanted 7 to 9 years. This is just over 3 years.
Yeah, and I can't wait to read the headlines of the Washington Post tomorrow. Obama-appointed federal judge sides with Bill Barr on sentencing. I mean, that's exactly what she did. And that's why we give them life tenure, so they can be oblivious to the political vicissitudes. But her sentence was much more in line with what Barr and myself and some others thought than these four prosecutors.
No, what about what Judge Jackson? Now, you just praised her, but she also said in her remarks in the courtroom, Stone was not prosecuted for standing up for the president. Quote, he was prosecuted for covering up for the president.
Yeah, I think that's my criticism of the Adam Schiff tweet. You know, Schiff tweeted that Roger Stone lied to cover up for Donald Trump. I was in the room, Ed. I was as close to Roger Stone as Adam Schiff was. Unless he is a palm reader or had a Ouija board, how does he know why Roger Stone lied? I don't know why he lied. Most people lie to protect themselves, not others. I just know a jury found him guilty on 7 different counts, including lying to Congress, and there has to be a consequence for lying, but 9 years is too much.
What do you make of what Robert Zimmerman was just bringing up? The New York Times reporting a short time ago, this breaking story that Adam Schiff, who you just invoked, House intel officials were briefed in the last few days by the acting director of national intelligence that Russia is trying to interfere in the 2020 campaign.
3 things. Number one, I don't know anyone who really thinks that Russia prefers Donald Trump to win over Comrade Sanders. I don't know a soul that really thinks Russia wants Donald Trump to be the president instead of the guy that honeymooned in Russia. Number 2, is this the same intelligence community that told us it was a spontaneous reaction to a video in Libya, and the same intelligence community that promised us weapons of mass destruction, and the same intelligence community that relied on the dossier? I mean, I have respect for them, but they're not polygraph machines. I mean, they gather information and they make assessments, and then they give those assessments, but unfortunately you give them to people like Adam Schiff who leak like sieves. This never should have been made public, and that's why the president's upset. Not at what the intelligence community found, but the fact that Adam Schiff has a beeline to the New York Times when it's negative information about Donald Trump.
Last point, I've got about 30 seconds. Rick Grinnell, add him to the mix now. Our ambassador to Germany is now the acting director of national intelligence. The Times suggesting the president didn't like Joseph Mcguire, who was the acting DNI. He briefed Adam Schiff and the others. The president allegedly angry about that. Now he has a loyalist in Rick Grinnell. What's your thoughts on that part of it?
Well, I was a Ratcliffe fan. I wanted Johnny Ratcliffe to get it in July. I hope that the Senate and the media treats Ambassador Grinnell more fairly than they did Johnny Ratcliffe in July. He's entitled to have an OD&I that he has confidence in. My sources on the Hill tell me he was not upset with Mcguire, that this was a move that was coming anyway. He just happened to go with Ambassador Grinnell instead of Chris Stewart and some other qualified candidates.
And Joseph Mcguire's time as acting, you can only be acting for a couple of hundred days, and that was coming up in March anyway. You know,
March 11th.
buttressing your point as well. So last point on this, you say that your sources on the Hill say that, in fact, the president was not angry at Joseph Mcguire. That seems to be the crux of this New York Times report that's gotten folks on the left spun up tonight, the idea that the president allegedly berated Joseph Mcguire and said, why did you go brief Adam Schiff and the rest? They're going to use this politically against me. We had gotten guidance a short time ago that this idea of the president berating Mcguire was overstated. You're hearing similar?
I'm hearing similar reporting from my buddies that have been with the president very recently. Look, I think the president's got a right to be upset when the intelligence community shares information with Adam Schiff. For years now, even when I was in Congress, he makes a beeline for the Washington Post, the New York Times, and CNN. So I am sure he is upset. Why would you trust Adam Schiff for the 100th time? But my sources tell me that is not why he got rid of Mcguire, and it was coming anyway.
Right, exactly, in March, as you said. Congressman Trey Gowdy, we'll be waiting for the president. In the meantime, we appreciate you coming in and giving us a download on all of that. Thank you.